This is COVID Corner, a show taking a look at the impact COVID-19 has had on our community. And I'm your host, Kylie Lindquist. On today's show, we will have Dave Mannon, Assistant Principal for Student Affairs at Riverside Brookfield, Kathy Brush, Math and Special Education Teacher here at Riverside Brookfield, Jill Glawe, ICU Nurse at Rush Medical Center, and we will have Scott Zimmer, who is the owner and proprietor of Choo Choo and Sawmilly. But today we're going to start off with my first guest, which is Mr. Dave Mannon, one of my favorite people here at RB, who is the Assistant Principal for Student Affairs. Nice to be here with you, Dave.
Yeah, it's
Thanks
great to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to take an opportunity quick for you to have some time to share with our viewers the impact that COVID-19 has had on your operations as the Assistant Principal of Student Affairs. You are also in charge of the Dean's Office here at RB. And one critical thing is missing this year, and that's students as of right now. So how has that changed what you guys are doing down in the Office of Student Affairs?
Yeah, I think you've missed it. We have a couple things that are missing. Two deans that were there last year.
Well, that's
right?
true. I forgot about that.
Mr. Sibley, Mr. Dugetti. Mr. Dugetti actually is back in the science classroom, and Mr. Sibley retired. So it's a big loss for our office. And the fact that we put COVID on top of it has been an interesting journey, to say the least, the last couple of months. But we are really happy where we're at right now. It's been kind of a long process to get here. We have two deans that we hired, Alberto Jaquez and Kara Weinberg, both who have brought a whole bunch of experience, and they're really out there and go-getting what we're trying to accomplish here, which is engagement and students involved in activities and involved in their e-learning and things like that. So it's been a process, but I think we're in a good spot where we're at currently.
I saw the deans working through some of those instructional materials downstairs, making some home deliveries to make sure students get what they need for their classes.
Yeah.
I know one thing that you've been dealing with in your office is the notorious Zoom bomb that we've been experiencing a little bit here. I'm certain that we're not the only school, but talk to us a little bit about how you guys have been getting information about those Zoom bombs and what we've been trying to do to kind of curb that activity.
Sure. Yeah. So our virtual educational platform is Zoom and or Google Meet. So teachers have freedom to choose which one they want to go with. But for Zoom, Zoom bomb would basically be a student or an individual that is not assigned to that class gets that link and then disrupts that learning environment with either a saying or a picture or something like that. And so we've had a couple of these cases so far to start the school year. And what we've learned so far is that teachers really need to do a good job, and they have been, admitting students by their first and last name, and then we also want our students to show their face on camera. We also went the extra mile, and the district purchased an educational access platform, which is an enhanced version of Zoom for our school to use, which really gives us a domain for our students to get their emails through, and then only students within that domain that are assigned an RB email can have access through Zoom. So it's really airtight to limit the amount of Zoom bombings that'll go in the future. So we're looking forward to get that up and running, and literally today is, we're getting that going, and probably within the next week we'll have that shirt up. So.
That's great. So I've learned a lot working with you for the past 5 years. As people may know, Mr. Mannon and I came in together. So we've worked together this is our 6th year now, and I know that your passion is opportunities for students and opportunities for students to get involved. And I know that is different now because we're virtual, we're not in school, but I know that you're still very committed to giving students activity access. So can you talk to us a little bit about how some of those virtual activities are fleshing out and what's going on in that area?
Yeah, so that's really the fun part of my job, is to grant kids opportunities and provide kids opportunities and outlets, which are needed more than ever right now, is getting kids out of their house, involved and engaged in meaningful work, such as the kids here are doing with RBTV. That's one outlet we have for students, and the other outlets are our fall activities. And so we look at the fall play. We just wrapped up auditions. They're going to be conducting a performance that's going to be streamed live, and that's going to be, I think the production this year is going to be Clue.
Yeah, I saw that on
And
the
then
sign.
I think they're doing a little bit of a twist with some interaction with the audience, and they can decide how the outcome ends and
cool.
who does it. You know, it's not
Yeah.
the butler and whatnot. But there's some pretty cool things that they're doing there. And then all of our other activities are trying to do something in a virtual sense or in a social distancing format
Okay.
in person. So I know the French Club is looking to do some events out here on the lawn. We have, so many others. SA is up and running, and they helped design and plan out our freshman orientation day. So they've been active. We're looking actually to do some things with a upcoming homecoming week.
Ooh, I like that.
With the potential parade and some other surprises that we're not going to mention right now.
Sure.
But really trying to get kids engaged. All of our clubs and extracurricular activity offerings are going in some fashion or format. So
that's great.
We're appreciative that the district values the engagement there, and I'm really glad that I have a great respect for the staff and what they're doing right now in regards to their their areas. So they're really jumping and they're thinking outside the box.
Sure.
And what they can do to provide experiences for our kids, and I appreciate all they're doing
Sure.
right now on top of their teaching responsibilities.
Absolutely. What do you miss most about having a full population of students in the building?
Oh gosh, the interactions,
Yeah.
the smiles that they bring to
Yeah.
our faces, like the reason why we got an education,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And so that is something that, it's great to see the kids here today.
Yeah.
Because, we're looking at the same adults every single day coming
Yes.
in. And although we love our staff dearly, the reason why we're in education is to help support our students. And so hopefully we can bring them back as soon as possible
Yeah.
when everything is safe.
Of course, absolutely.
Right? But we love those interactions and miss those dearly.
Absolutely.
So.
I was saying earlier, it's weird walking down the halls and you just don't see anyone, you don't hear anyone. I might just start hanging out in RBTV because there's kids in here. We can actually see somebody.
I've been doing a virtual week recap that we're sending out through Twitter, our Twitter accounts and our social media accounts, and I'm running out of footage right now because I'm literally going down empty hallways and trying to get in as many classrooms as I can to see our teachers doing great things in a virtual sense on Zoom or Google Meets. But yeah, I mean, there really is a lack of busyness, right?
Yeah,
the buzz
sure.
around the building is gone.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming, Mr. Mannon. I really appreciate having some time to chat with you. For those of you who haven't already, when you take a look at RB's webpage, RB's homepage, you can see tweets and you can see Instagram shares from Dr. Freitas, our principal. Mr. Mannon is real active on Twitter, tweeting out some of the awesome things that are happening here at RB, even in the virtual setting. So again, we thank you for coming on the show today and for sharing a little bit about how COVID-19 has impacted your life here at RB. We're really appreciative for this experience with you. And thank you so much to Dave Mannon, as I mentioned, and we'll be right back after a brief break. Welcome back. We're starting another segment of COVID Corner. You may have noticed a wardrobe and hair change for your host. That's because we are doing these segments a little bit spread out, and through the magic of television and the wonderfully talented students of RBTV, some editing magic will make this all appear to you as we've taped it all at once. Joining me is my next guest, Mrs. Kathy Brush,
Hi.
who is a math and special education teacher here at Riverside Brookfield. Welcome to the show, Kathy. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So one of the things, we've been talking about the impact of COVID-19 on a variety of different professions and different areas of our community. Obviously, teaching is one of those places where we've been hit the most, right? As we walk through a school with no students in it. So talk to me a little bit. This is your first year teaching full-time at RB.
Right.
But talk to me a little bit about what that's been like for you adjusting to starting the year teaching remotely.
Well, I certainly am busy. And I feel like, most of my time I'm in my room. Like one of the other math teachers was like, hey, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. How you doing? And, it's weird. We're all, holed up in our rooms. But I feel like I'm a new in a new teaching role. And so I think normally I would have been like, oh my gosh, am I ready? Am I ready? But I feel like because we're trying to flip our classroom in geometry, so some of us were creating videos to have students watch some of the teaching content before, and I don't know, everything. I'm pretty comfortable with technology, but even so, I think there can be glitches. Like once or twice, my mic wasn't working, so I'm like, they're like, we can't hear you, Mrs. Brush, we can't hear you. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to start, I'm like, oh, I got to chat to you because you can't hear me, and just like a little bit nervous.
Sure.
But then they all came back, and that was good. I got
That's
Zoom
awesome.
bombed the other day.
Did you?
Yes.
We talked about that with Dave Mannon earlier on the show.
So I was like, who are these people? And I was like, remove.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I felt like it was a video game, and I won. I was
Yeah.
like, I kept him out. I protected our class
Like
from
the
these
whack-a-mole
invaders.
game, right?
Yeah,
when you're trying to get that. How have
Yeah.
the students responded? Do you feel like in terms of having to learn in such a new format, really?
I think some are okay. I think some are definitely struggling. It's really hard to know, like I'm trying to, gauge, are they participating? Are they with me? So I'm trying to ask questions and use the participant pane to click yes or no, or chat something to me, unmute, be bold, show your video, but I get that it's a little nerve-wracking and trying to use breakout rooms. But I feel like some people are, it's very easy. You really need a lot of self-motivation as a student to stay engaged, and I think it's tough for many.
We built into our remote schedule here at RB those virtual office hours in the middle of all the weeks, in the middle of every week. Have you been seeing some students drop in and ask questions and utilize those times?
Yes, I feel like I've had at least one student. Yesterday I had I had about 6.
Oh, great.
So that can feel tricky. We just take turns. And I talked to another math teacher. She said, well, maybe I'll try to put everybody from one class in a breakout room so they can try to help each other, because that's a piece that's missing.
Absolutely.
With students not together, often you can rely, hey, can you explain that to so-and-so if they don't get it, because you can't hit everybody that's a little bit behind.
And our math department here at RB, when I walk down the hallways, so many of them have the students in those pods, right, for that cooperative learning experience to teach and learn from each other.
Yeah.
So we've been back in school, less than a month right now. So I know that you, like the rest of us who worked here at RB, were home from Friday, March 13th until we came back to the school year. How did you deal with this pandemic being home, right? So you ended last quarter working as a paraprofessional here, so you were supporting students in fourth quarter. But how did this impact your home life?
Well, I feel like it was weird, very strange at first. We weren't going, because we go to church, and a lot of the people that we would see weekly, wherever it might be, we weren't seeing. I feel like at first I bought like these sticker books. I was thinking, what can we do together as a family? And we were doing some stuff that was a little different. But then I think we kind of got used to it, but not. It was this weird, like, is it okay? We did go in July. We always usually go to this camp in the summer, and everything was canceled. But we went to another camp that allowed families to use this cabin for a week, and that was nice.
Sure.
We were a little unsure, is it okay to do that? But we did. It was really good to get away. But fortunately, we get along well.
That's good.
Our dog is living the life.
Oh,
I'm telling
I bet.
you, he's everybody. We're always there, so he's had the best experience.
As can be.
Yes.
What would you say has been kind of your favorite thing, your family's favorite thing to do over quarantine? My husband and I discovered Legos. Over quarantine.
That's cool.
Well, my husband knew about them, but,
but
we started building Lego things,
that's
right?
hilarious.
And that was
That's
kind of
awesome.
our activity. What was your favorite, like, family doing it together activity at home?
Probably, like, we watched Stranger Things
Oh,
early
good.
on, which I know I had students that would dress for Halloween as Steve and what's her name, Robin, that worked at, and I didn't really know, but now I'm like, oh, I get the, my daughter watched it several times. So I watched it once each season, but let's see, my husband really does puzzles. We do like to play games, like
that's great.
Dutch Blitz card game once in a while, but I feel like, it's interesting because we switched to using Netflix instead of we used to have, what's it called? The the dish. Well, we got rid of that.
Sure.
I don't know. It's so, I feel like,
Exploring what's out on TV has also been another of my favorite pastimes.
Crocheting, but that's an individual thing. I don't know, just
keep yourself busy any way you can, really.
Yeah.
So fast forward into the future, and let's think of a world after COVID-19. What is the one thing that you're looking forward to being able to do when this is all kind of gone by the wayside, or we have a vaccine, or whatever it might be, that you miss doing now?
I think being able to travel.
Yes.
And actually, just I miss seeing people,
Yeah.
like at church, actually.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just some of my, but traveling. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
I would-
ready. I'm with you.
yeah.
Where do you want to go the first time you can go somewhere?
Ooh, well, if I think big,
Yeah.
maybe like we want to go to Spain
Yes.
sometime. Like New Mexico, one of my brothers moved down to New Mexico
That's awesome.
with his wife, so it'd be cool to go there.
If you get to go, make sure you take pictures so I can see it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us,
Yeah.
Kathy. It's been really nice to chat with
Yeah,
you,
thank you.
and talk about how this pandemic has shaped your experience. I really appreciate it. Good to
Yeah.
see you.
Thanks.
All right, that's it for our segment with Mrs. Brush. We will be back after these messages. Hello and welcome back to COVID Corner. Joining me is our next guest, Jill Glawe, who is an ICU nurse at Rush Hospital here in Chicago. Hi, Jill. Nice to meet you, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So we're really excited to have you with us today and talk about some of your experiences as we look at how our world has been changed and shaped, right, by COVID-19, global pandemic. Can you talk to us a little bit about, first, like I said, you're an ICU nurse. Can you talk to us a little bit about what your job traditionally was like, and then how it was changed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Sure. I'm a nurse at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, and I've been a nurse for 27 years. The majority of time I've been at Rush, and I work in a cardiac intensive care unit. So our unit primarily took care of very critically ill patients having cardiac problems, heart attacks, heart arrhythmias, heart failure, heart transplants, and I enjoyed that very much. You know, I saw very sick patients. But Rush was built kind of to handle a pandemic or a global health crisis, and our new hospital facility really set the stage for taking care of an infectious disease pandemic. So when COVID started, our surge, Rush was already prepared from an institution-wise to handle something of this magnitude. Just by design of the building itself, we have special airflow systems to protect people from airborne pathogens. There's special decontamination bays. The facility itself can be equipped to set up new MASH type of units. So we knew that if a pandemic hit, that Rush would be forefront. Not to mention that we have several physicians who are experts in infectious disease.
Okay.
So we were anticipating that we would see several patients with COVID. And even before, you know, we were preparing protocols, we were establishing training and donning protective equipment and isolation procedures and learning as much as we could about COVID before it hit. So we were anticipating a change. However,
I knew that was coming.
when we started to see the COVID patients, it was like overwhelming. It was from day and night. Our cardiac ICU turned into a COVID ICU.
Okay.
And 28 out of 28 patients were the sickest of the sick COVID patients.
And that's how big the capacity of your unit was 28
That's how
beds?
big the capacity of my unit is.
Okay.
There are 4 intensive care units at
Okay.
Rush, each specializing in a little different patient population. And ours was the second unit to become a COVID ICU.
Okay.
And maybe 2 weeks into the surge, all 4 units were full of COVID
Wow.
patients. And we established opening 2 new intensive cares.
So to bring it to a total of 6. Wow, okay.
So gone were our cardiac patients that we were very comfortable providing expert care, and in was this COVID.
Sure.
And the patients, I've never seen anybody as sick, as critical, as unstable as these patients were.
Sure.
And truly, it turned overnight that we had patients that were cardiac in nature to entirely COVID. The patients first present, and we knew this was a respiratory type of illness.
Right.
We anticipated that. So the patients would come in, they would be so in desperate need of oxygen, they would be in respiratory distress, they would be put on ventilators. And then to allow their lungs to recover and handle this, they would have to be heavily sedated.
Okay.
So gone were the days that you could talk with your patient, ask them how they were doing. They were on the ventilator. We were doing very extreme aggressive treatments with that, even turning patients over into a prone position. So if you can imagine somebody laying in the bed, completely sedated, with a tube hanging out of their mouth that's helping them breathe, and then flipping them over to their stomach.
Oh.
So they would be face down in the bed. It would take a team of probably 6 to 8 people to do this. You would sandwich the people up between sheets and flip them over as somebody watches their head to be sure you don't dislodge the tube that's providing them life support.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that then, we understood the respiratory part of that, and we were very aggressive with that. But as we saw these patients, we realized that some people have a very different response to the COVID itself. The COVID attacks the lungs, and then there is a whole sequelae of other problems that come up. So they were throwing blood clots and causing strokes and pulmonary embolus.
Wow.
They were going into kidney failure. Their vital signs were very unstable. So it was very, very difficult to manage.
It's a lot, right? And we were talking a little bit in the green room, and you shared with me some bright spots in a way. I know it's odd to say that, but what were the moments that maybe gave you a sense of hope and a sense of teamwork and really all of us kind of in this together that you experienced at Rush through all of this?
Well, it really was amazing that there was a strong call for people to come together, and the collaboration and teamwork that was present during this crisis was overwhelming. And people who were in areas of the hospital that had been shut down temporarily because elective surgeries were not being done, health maintenance was kind of put on hold because, clinics were closed. So people from other areas came to work in the intensive cares to give us a hand because we'd never seen patients this sick before.
Right, yeah.
And we definitely needed more hands on deck. At the same time, like I mentioned before, we really wanted to minimize the exposure to this. So quite often it was the nurse and the respiratory therapist who would be in the room with the patient, minimizing contact from anybody else. So we were really, truly managing that care on our own, and relied on people who might be out in the hallway passing by to give us a hand or help to contact families of the patients because the families weren't allowed to come in.
Absolutely.
And, sadly, this was sometimes end of life for our patients, and there they were in the ICU alone.
Yeah. Jill, I feel like I'm talking to, an everyday modern day hero right now. I don't know how much people probably tell you that, but I mean, you're on the front lines, you're doing work for people that don't have their families there. We are so thankful, number one, to have you doing the work that you do, and that you came in today to share some of that with us. I can't imagine what this has been like, but I really appreciate you coming into COVID Corner and letting us know how your experience was changed as a result and giving us a glimpse into your world. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I have to say that while it was very hard being there frontline and taking care of these very sick patients, the support that was shown to nurses and healthcare workers and the multitude of acts of kindness are truly what got us through this.
Absolutely.
And it's very humbling to hear, that because, we always want to do a good job.
Yes.
We always want to take good care of our patients.
Yes.
And that's just what we do.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Your heart is in the right place, and we thank you for being there when people needed you and answering that call. Thanks so much again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome back to COVID Corner. Joining me now is Scott Zimmer, who is the owner of the Choo Choo Cafe and Sawmilly. Thank you so much for being here, Scott.
Thanks for inviting me.
I'm very excited to talk to you. I know that we have a special guest in our audience, some of our culinary class is watching along with us on RBTV, because how often do we get to talk to the owner and proprietor of 2 restaurants? So we're really excited to have some other folks joining us virtually as well. Scott, the restaurant industry is certainly one that has been impacted very significantly by the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you talk to me a little bit about that overall impact that it's had on your businesses, and how you have been able to transition through COVID-19 to be able to make your businesses still run and still serving, good food to the public?
Yeah, without question,
Absolutely.
It's been a challenge.
Yeah.
At first, our goal was just to make sure our employees were safe.
Yes.
They had a safe work environment, but they also had income. And everyone in the beginning, we had a decision to make early on. Did we want to, play possum, or did we want to jump in? And everyone on the team wanted to work.
Yes.
And so we embraced that idea. We figured out how we could do that. And every day, quite honestly, we feel like we're making a new decision
Yes.
on what to do.
Sure.
So there was no roadmap for us to manage this. And so we made some maybe bad decisions, we made some good decisions, but overall, the public has been great. They've embraced everything we've been trying to do. Our staff's been wonderful.
Yeah.
The village has been embracing us and supporting us with incentives and the ability to set up outside dining.
That's awesome.
So we're happy with where we are today, but who knows where we're going.
Sure. Now, I'm assuming there was a time, right, when your dine-in establishments became only carry-out for a
Right.
while. Yep.
Yeah, that happened right around St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
And it became a new business model overnight.
Yes.
We had to order to-go boxes by the truckload.
Sure.
And that was a scramble because those resources weren't out there. So we were fighting to get those things, and we were learning new systems for
Sure.
placing carry-out and just answering the phone.
Absolutely.
We had an area where we normally had 2 phones. We had to double that to 4 phones. We had people running out to the street bringing food out. It was like a whole new business model.
And have you now been able, you mentioned some outdoor seating, have you now been able to transition back to any kind of in-person dining within your dining rooms, or is that mostly still staying outside?
Well, the state allows us to serve inside.
Beautiful.
We have distancing between tables, and we have plexiglass installed in areas to create a safe space while you're inside.
Yes.
Days like today where it's a little chilly, that everyone will be inside. The overall preference for people is still outside, and we
Sure.
understand that, and so
Yeah.
we're trying to provide as much outdoor space as we can. We have a new outdoor patio that we installed
Awesome.
that holds people, and it's beautiful. It has fans for cooling, speakers, and nice chairs, and it's a really nice, comfortable open space.
Nice.
We have heaters coming for that very soon as well. And then we also, some days, we'll just set up tables down the sidewalk
Oh, beautiful.
to give people that outdoor experience that they're
Yes.
looking for.
Absolutely. Now, I know that a lot of restaurants and a lot of businesses that have been able to stay open, surely, have looked at ways that they can try to support and give back in the community with any kind of humanitarian efforts. How have you sort of been trying to go beyond the walls of just your establishment? Because I know that you have.
We've been, honestly, it's the community.
Yes.
Everyone's been working together,
Yeah.
doing their share. So
Yeah.
we have, just yesterday, someone stopped by and dropped off a big donation to feed all the first responders, the police and fire, in honor of 9/11. So we have a big luncheon going out for them. We've been going to the hospitals like endlessly,
Yeah.
giving food to the COVID levels and stuff like that. We're just trying to be part of the team.
Absolutely.
It's a community effort across the
Absolutely.
board.
Absolutely. So what do you think? Do you think this changes the future of restaurants in general?
That's a good question. That's the $1 million question.
Right?
Like we met with a state rep not too long ago. They wanted to know our opinions, and quite honestly, we don't know the
Sure.
end game here. So it's kind of hard to direct resources.
Yeah.
We're doing our best just to try to stay vanilla, do what we're doing that seems to be working, and then when we can get more aggressive with our business and have more seating, we'll obviously adjust. But the carry-out aspect has been very strong for a lot of restaurants, and we're trying to cooperate with that. People are coming inside to eat, It's safe, it's comfortable. Our staff is very, careful with the masks and the gloves and the sanitation and all the things that we're doing in place, temperature screening. So we're doing it the best we can.
Sure.
But what lays ahead a year from now or
Right.
6 months from now or even next week, it's hard to say because it changes so quickly. I think the science is adjusting and people's interpretation of that have changed too.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, can you, for those people who may not be familiar with Choo Choo and with Sawmilly, can you just give us kind of a brief overview of the differences between those establishments and what people might expect to find on the menu variety when they come in?
The Choo Choo is the mothership.
Got
That
it.
was our original baby
Yes.
that we opened. This is our 25th year.
Oh, fantastic.
So we are a full-service restaurant with
Yeah.
a bar, and we do catering, we do special events. It's a nice place to come for a casual meal or for a celebratory occasion like a birthday or a holiday. And it's full service. It's a real nice place to come.
Fantastic.
Sawmilly, on the other hand, is the opposite of that,
Okay.
quite frankly. It's a lunch place where
Okay.
you can come in and get fast food that's done really well.
Yep.
No preservative-free. We do everything eco-friendly over there. And you can get a nice sandwich, homemade chips, side dishes, and get something quick.
That's awesome. So for Choo Choo, is that somewhere, do people need to call and make reservations ahead of time? Can they just come on in? How's that working?
We're trying to encourage people to let us know prior to their arrival because
Okay.
we are trying to keep people apart
Sure.
as much as possible.
Yes.
So reservations are always a good idea.
Yeah.
But if you're driving by and you're hungry, give us a call, stop in,
Right.
we'll take care of you.
You're making me hungry already. So
All
the
right.
last thing I'm going to ask is your favorite dish from each of the two restaurants.
I'll start with Sawmilly. There's a sandwich called an El Capo, which is really good. It's got Italian cuts and it's pressed like a Cubano, and it's just, it got a lot of zip to it and olive relish. It's really good.
Yum.
Over at Choo Choo, that's like picking your favorite child.
Oh, okay. I put you on the spot there.
Yeah, we have like a huge menu with 40 different menu items on it, but we do great steaks,
Yes.
fresh seafood,
Amazing.
oysters on the half shell, amazing appetizers and share plates. So you'll find something you're going to love.
Absolutely. Scott, it's been super awesome talking to you and getting to know a little bit about your establishments and
Thank
about
you.
the way this pandemic has both changed you and given new opportunities, right?
Absolutely.
And, I said it when I talked to our ICU nurse, and I'm going to say it again, people who have been working through this pandemic are heroes in my eyes because you're working to feed the community and be an active role in that community. So we really thank you for that. You hit the nail on the head when you said we're kind of all in this together and figuring it out as we go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and thanks for the opportunity
Absolutely.
to come and
It
talk
was
to
so nice to meet you.
you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you to all of my guests on this edition of COVID Corner. It's been a great episode of the show, and we're looking very forward to seeing you next time for more talk about how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected our community. Thanks to RBTV and all of my guests. See you next time on COVID Corner.